Hello everybody, Sparkster1701 here, and today we're going to take a look at another golden oldie from the Generation 1 Transformer line, the Autobot Military Strategist, Prowl. Now, Prowl was released in 1984 as part of the first wave of the Generation 1 Transformers. He would also be available in 1985. He would be discontinued in 1986, and he would get replaced by Grotesque. Prowl would eventually return to the Transformer line in 1990 as an Action Master. Of course, Prowl was a fan favorite to many of us growing up, as he appeared to be the second in command to the Autobots behind Optimus Prime, and he was a police car as well, and that was back in the days when we really did, as young people, look up to law enforcement and respect them. Funny how the times have changed. Of course, the mold that was used for Prowl would also bring about two other Transformers into the line. The same mold was used for Blue Streak, who also came out in 1984, and would also be used again in 1985 for Smokescreen. All three of these guys transform the exact same way, and they all have the exact same accessories. The only difference is the colors of their launchers. Blue Streak has red launchers, Prowl has gray launchers, and Smokescreen has white launchers. So that's something to look at when you're buying them loose. Get these guys out of the way here. So as you can also imagine, with that they also transform into the same model of car, but of course everybody is all different. Take a closer look here at Prowl, and we'll get a look at some of his articulation. And for an Autobot car, he's got rather little, which is about normal for Transformers of his size. Does have some articulation at the shoulder, but his arm can be rotated at the shoulder, and he does have something of an elbow joint and a rotational joint at the shoulder. So we'll rotate the arms a little bit better so you can get a look at his arm. As you'll notice, he has a rather plain law enforcement symbol on there. It's somewhat modified from the original ones from the toy line, as the original ones had more of a design reminiscent to what was used by law enforcement in Japan at the time. And of course also he has some chevrons here on his arm. Now, if they're rank chevrons, these three would give Prowl the equivalent rank of a sergeant. But also in law enforcement, sometimes these are used to denote years of service. Either 3, 4, or 5 years of service, depending on how the department has it set up. So, very interesting way to multiply interpret how these markings go on Prowl. But when you see the instruction manual, we'll get an even better look at his original Diaclone markings. Now, of course, we'll need to transform Prowl. And he is somewhat a little more complicated than many of the others available at the time. Of course, we start by removing his gun, and we'll also remove his missile launchers. Put those out of the way here. And of course, before we get too far, I want to point out that the windshield unit here on this is very fragile. These are on very thin bits of plastic. You'll want to look out for it on Blue Streak and Smokescreen as well, because when you look at this one real closely, it looks like the previous person that owned this toy has repaired it. So always keep an eye out for that, folks. Alright, we're going to start by we grab the hood of the car on his chest. We're going to fold it upwards, like so. Now his arms, as you can bet, the fenders and the tire fold inward. But you'll also rotate the arm, either up or down, it doesn't matter. But you'll want to pivot the fist just slightly, so that it's also matching the direction that the post at his shoulder is. So they'll want to be opposites. I'm going to shift the arm out of the way a little bit. Yeah, it helps rotate the tire, make sure the tire is pointing in the right direction too when you fold it in. Then once you've got them in like that, you'll have put the holes in the fist to connect with the posts on the shoulder, and that'll help hold the front end together. That'll help keep the front wheelbase solid together. Now next, and this is where the juvenile humor comes in, you'll grab this plastic bar in the center of his waist and fold it outward as such. You now have 1 second to make all the juvenile comments you want while I can't hear them. Time's up. And you grab him and rotate his waist around. And then, of course, fold the plastic piece back in to secure it. Now we're done with the humor. On his legs, you'll fold push both car halves together, and then just lower the body in. Might need that to hold the hood down a little bit where the head is, and then just slide it up close. Don't hold it too much. You want this little plastic bar here to go under these windows a little. That way it looks a little more natural. And then lastly, close the doors. And there you have it. Prowl's alternate mode is obviously a police car, but he is specifically a Datsun Fairlady Z Turbo. It's the same car mode as Blue Streak and Smokescreen. As you can imagine, Blue Streak is just your average, ordinary Datsun Fairlady, whereas Smokescreen is a racing version. And Prowl here gets to be a police version. The only downside to it is since you can see right through the windshield, you can clearly tell there's no seats in there. And probably not surprising, it's been a while since we've been able to point this out, but the alternate mode is also shared by the GoBot Zeman. And of course, Zeman's not a police car, but he is the same model of car. He's a Datsun Fairlady. This gives you a chance to see what one really does look like. A little less lines. Of course, Zeman here is a sportier T-top. Kind of the same one that Blue Streak is. So this gives you a way to see a couple of different ones side by side. Let's take a look now at Prowl's accessories, and he had about average for an Autobot car. Starting first with his laser gun. Isn't too bad. As you can imagine, Smokescreen and Blue Streak come with the same gun. It's all chrome, so you have to watch it for chrome wear. But also something to keep an eye out on is the barrel of the gun here. Sometimes on some loose samples, the end of it is broken off, so keep an eye out for that. Not a bad gun, a little bit on the futuristic side, but not bad. It's in a good way. Prowl also came with 2 launchers, a left and a right. Basically, the one side has the little post. At this angle, you can see the little post that connects on the side of his head. And they just rest on his shoulders. Of course, Hasbro neutered these, so the launching mechanism does not fire at all. They just hold. And of course, here's the opposite side one. Here, and go so you can. Wrong way, dummy. Here's the post right there on it. You know, like I said, he comes with the gray ones. If you go by, make sure you go by this. These are the correct launchers. Prowl comes with the gray ones. The instructions mistakenly show him with white launchers, so they probably Hasbro probably changed them to gray so they'd show up a little bit better on him. And of course, since you got missile launchers, you've got 3 missiles. And these are just pretty plain. There's nothing really remarkable about them whatsoever. You know, there's no fins or any other detail like that. They just look like little chrome sticks. As you can imagine, since 3 guys came with these, missiles for them are pretty easy to find. Just watch for chrome wear on them, especially on the ends. Moving right along with Prowl, we'll take a look at his instruction manual. This was the style in 1984. They did print them in full color. Now we're going to take a look here at the first picture that shows the contents. And right away, like I mentioned to you, these show that he comes with the white launchers. This would probably be how the original Diaclone toy came with. Hasbro likely changed them from white to gray, to the silver gray color, so that they would show up better on the toy. It's possible that the gray ones may have originally come with Blue Streak, and since they changed Blue Streak from being blue to dark gray, they probably changed them up so that way those wouldn't disappear on Blue Streak. But also, take a close look here at this sticker sheet, and you can see that he has some radically different stickers than what the actual toy came with. Like I said, the police badge stickers here on the end, they seem to show more for agencies on the Imperial Japanese Police Forces. But also, you take a look here, he has some customizable ones to put him for a police car in 5 different Japanese cities: Tokyo, Sapporo, Sendai, Osaka, and Fukuoka. So, rather interesting. Rather interesting. That would have been a nice little custom option, but I kind of like the plain detail that they put on Prowl with that. That way he's a little more nondescript. Works out a little better for our imaginations back then. And then now we go through the instructions. Works out a little differently than what I did, but hey, you're all allowed to do it your own way. So as long as you wind up in the same place that we all end up with eventually. And of course, right here you got the sticker page. And this toy shows him with the white launchers. And you can see there from the pictures on both these pages here, the white ones really don't go well with him. They kind of disappear, and they make his head sort of disappear. If it weren't for the red stickers for the bars on his head, you'd almost not know he had a head. And then we get here to the last page, which encouraged us to save the robot points. And of course, how to read the tech spec decoder. How to read our tech specs. Those out of the way here. And we go right to the tech spec. It's got a nice picture of him. This would have been on the front of the box. It's done up in red to indicate he's an Autobot. And it gives his name as Prowl. His function is military strategist. And his motto is, logic is the ultimate weapon. So in some ways, he's kind of the Autobot equivalent to Shockwave. Prowl will keep at a task for as long as it takes. Strives to find reason and logic in everything. A listener, not a talker. Has most sophisticated logic center of all Autobots. Able to analyze and advise on complex combat situations almost instantaneously. Fires wire-guided incendiary missiles and high corrosive acid pellets. The unexpected can often scramble his circuits. Now, in the More Than Meets the Eye guidebooks, Prowl's entry is written from the perspective of Jazz, and Jazz does comment on how Prowl has a hard time dealing with the unexpected. He always has to find logic in why things happen. What gets done, what's the reason behind things. And spontaneity just often gets Prowl to look at you like you've sprouted another head. Moving right along here, we'll take a look at his stats. It shows it has his strength as 7, his intelligence is 9, his speed is 7, his endurance is 9, his rank is 9, as is his courage, his firepower is 4, and his skill is 9. So that definitely does prove that Prowl is worthy of being the second in command underneath Optimus. So I would probably guess then that the chevrons on his arms would probably more reflect years of service rather than his actual rank. So with a rank of 9 and being directly under Optimus Prime, I don't think Prowl would be ranked as a sergeant. Now we get down to what do I think of him. Prowl's a good character. Being as high-ranked as he is in the Autobot army, and being the one directly underneath Optimus as leader of the Autobots, Prowl's an essential character to any Transformers collection. In fact, he's considerably more necessary than the other two that share his mold. Prowl, of course, made numerous appearances throughout all the media, and was tragically and famously one of the Autobots who was gunned down in battle in the 1986 Transformers the movie, whereas both of his mold-sharing comrades were not seen in the movie at all. So one kind of wonders if Prowl got the short end of the stick on that deal. But in many cases, since Prowl is such a vital component to the Army itself, he's kind of like Shockwave, as we discussed of him last month. He's driven by logic, pure and simple, and that's the only thing that guides his life. He's not as much of a fanatic as Shockwave in the sense of having to piece together other Transformers and see the results that come from it, but he just barely avoids being labeled as a mad scientist. However, his single-minded determination to find logic in everything can be a bit of a distraction from more pressing concerns. But as a toy, Prowl's got his flaws in him. I mean, the windshield is the biggest of all of them. But other than that, he's a pretty solid toy. He rolls good on flat surfaces in car mode, and he's rather well detailed. So I'm going to give him as a top tier character, and wish you all the best of luck at finding a good one intact. And that concludes my review of the Generation 1 Autobot Military Strategist Prowl. If you like the video, please thumbs up it here on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button down below if you haven't already. Post a comment and share your thoughts on this character and this review. This is Sparkster1701 saying I'll catch you all later.